just because we know how to do something better doesn't mean we're capable in that moment to do better. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Welcome, everybody. What's going on? Holy cow. I've had one of the best days so far. I went on my normal walk this morning with my dog. I like this rocky path near my house because hardly anybody's on it. So we walked 4 miles at sunrise, which was amazing. For me, that gives me the kick of drinking caffeine or taking a multivitamin. It's so good. It's part of my mental exercise routine, and it gets my crazy brain, which sometimes wakes up quite loud and spinning. It calms it down, and it gets me focused and energized for the day. I listen to a book, some podcast episodes, send some audio messages to some friends and to my mom who just got back in town, read my big mama goal out loud to myself, which I like to do every day or twice a day usually. And then when I got back to our house and I was about ready to call it mission complete, got the walk done, a friend texted me and wanted to talk about some stuff. So I was sitting on my front porch and there's another trail that's not too far away from our house that I thought, well, I'm just going to start walking on that trail instead of sitting down. I had just barely gotten home. Like I was still moving. I was in that movement stage. And so we ended up walking another 4-ish miles, 7.83 to be exact. But I'm going to round that up. And I'm so glad that I had time to do that today. It's Saturday. I'm now sitting at my desk. My teenagers are still asleep. And I'm going to squeeze in this podcast recording for you today before we get started on our normal Sunday stuff. So the first thing I want to offer is we have a free 5-day CMP bootcamp happening September 23rd to 27th. Yes, 5 days. Yes, free. I have not done a free 5-day boot camp in years. If you're already in one of my programs, you'll want to join. If you've never done one of my trainings with me, you're going to want to join. We are diving in on stuff that no matter how much or how little you know about Connect Method Parenting is going to bring you value. It's going to uplevel your ability to parent using connection, not correction. I'm so amped up about this. I'm excited. I had a whole new page built for it that you can go check out at cmp.works/bootcamp. It's so fun to design it, kind of playfully create something new. I'll post that in the show notes too. And then the second thing that we have is we are doing our last round of the CMP study / 8-week parenting bootcamp this year. It's going to start October 7th. You can actually snag your spot right now. We have spent this entire year conducting a study on Connect Method Parenting. I'm so proud of this. It's been amazing. And I think the CMP study will end with this round of the pivot. We'll still offer the pivot, something like it. We'll revise it. We'll update it. We're going to do it again next year. It's the entry program into League. So when somebody joins the League of Extraordinarily Connected Parents, you've got to go through the pivot. And that's going to be the case for everyone because it creates a foundational understanding. However, it's hard to get through everything in a short period of time, but it's good to have that overview. So we're going to still keep doing that. And then people will then transition into CMP Mastery, which is our slower deep dive, solidifies everything. You keep implementing, keep learning, because what we need more than new information is repetition. But we do give it new information too. We deep dive, we take concepts and just go in at a deeper level. We study the science and the theory. We're diving into attachment theory right now, and it's so killer. It's so fun to hear the awarenesses and the ahas and the, oh my gosh, this takes everything I learned in Pivot to the next level. So we're going to start the Pivot, like I said, October 7th. And the cool thing that we have done this year with this study, we've married the Pivot and the study together. So you get access to what is currently the 8-week Pivot. I don't know if it will stay 8 weeks, if we'll expand it, if we'll shorten it. Not sure what we're going to do, but this is still 8-week parenting Pivot this time. And we've married it with this study, which is rad because you get to pay a $200 refundable deposit. And as long as you come in and you do the work for the entire 8 weeks, then at the end of the 8 weeks, you can get your money back if you want. That's our way of saying thank you so much for letting us track your progress, for giving us your feedback, for helping us illustrate and see and demonstrate and have concrete evidence, undeniable evidence of the incredible impact of Connect Method Parenting and what it does with families, how it changes families, changes moms and dads and helps you create a totally different way of showing up for your kids and sets you up to get your kids to want to listen to you and better relationships, feeling more equipped and capable. It's so good. So if you want to join that, then go to cmp.works/pivot. I'll put that in the show notes too. You can also go to connectmethodparenting.com and get info on either of these things. And if you're thinking, well, I really want to go through the pivot, but I would rather not be part of the study, that's cool. We can do that for you. You just need to email us at hello@connectmethodparenting.com and we'll give you a link for that. But I have to say that I am so, so proud of the moms and dads who've gone through the pivot and participated in the study this year. We're in the middle of a pivot right now, and the results have been freaking rad, so amazing. In fact, the number crunchers, I know that's not what they are called. And if you're listening, people who are evaluating the study, I'm sorry for messing up your title, but the people who are helping us evaluate the study, they've shared some of the numbers that they've collected so far. And the average, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the average has been around 200% improvement in kids listening, in parents feeling more capable of handling tricky situations, in feeling more calm and confident, having more understanding about what's really going on with their kids so that they can handle it with peace and with calmness and with connection and with patience, all the things we want, all the things that I cried myself to sleep about because I wasn't doing when I first started parenting. That is the beauty of learning the theory of attachment and marrying it with a system that changes your neural pathways. Lives change. And I just have to share a couple of things that I've gotten back recently from moms. They're going through the pivot right now. One of them just said, we went school shopping for 3 kids a few days after returning from a 10-day camping trip. I think she was saying we were tired. And when one of our 3 kids was feeling jealous and angry about us saying no to some purchases he wanted to make, I was able to stay calm instead of getting pulled into the drama. I leaned into connection with my husband instead of spiraling into our own frustration. We went into 6 different stores over the course of 6 hours, ate 2 meals out with no friction. That's so cool. No friction between my husband and I. I patiently waited out my child's frustration, and our dinner was even pleasant. And I managed to connect with my son and eat and talk with him at the buffet. So good. I'm not going to use names because I haven't gotten permission to use names, but you know who you are. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for going through the pivot and sharing your experiences. Another mom said that she was getting into a heated discussion with her 15-year-old, was able to pause and get curious and seek understanding rather than seek to be understood. Meaning she didn't go into defensive mode, proving she was right mode. And she said it was a total game changer. Bravo. Oh my gosh. So good. And I'm going to wrap up the comments that I've gotten just with this last one. It's so good. And I could share so many, but I know we need to get to the podcast episode. But she said, my son took a frozen lemonade in the car and spilled it. He left it. It dried. Can only imagine. Oh my goodness. And it was a huge sticky mess. She said, I was frustrated, but I was able to change my thought process. Woo woo. Oh my gosh. So excited. Celebration dance happening here. He didn't purposely spill the lemonade. That's what she started thinking. You know, your brain's like, he did it on purpose. That's where your brain normally goes. That's where mine normally goes. But she said she switched to, he didn't do it on purpose. And it was an accident. It was an oversight. She gave him the benefit of the doubt. My relationship with him is more important than a sticky car. This changed the thought, redirected my steer, which is a tool that we use inside of all of the programs I teach inside of League, where we are able to look at our thoughts and our emotions and the actions that we take and the results, and we do it unintentionally. Like, here's what I would do by default, and here's what I would do intentionally. So she was able to redirect her steer. I love that she used that in that way. And I was able to stay calm, tell him it was okay, and just to let me know next time. And they connected, got it cleaned up. It was great. So if you want stuff like this happening in your life, you got to get into the pivot. So let's review the free boot camp, 5 days, September 23rd through 27th. Link in the show notes at cmp.works/bootcamp. That's going to give you a sneak peek. It's also going to just give you so much value. And if you want to grab a spot in the October pivot that starts October 7th, go to cmp.works/pivot. I know some of you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while. You want help implementing more. You've reached out to me. So many of you have and said, oh my gosh, I love what you're talking about. I'm having trouble implementing it. Then this is for you. This is for you all. So the 5-day boot camp, it's going to be amazing. Like I said, if you're already in League in either Mastery or Pivot, you're going to want to join. And if you're only familiar with my work by reading my book or listening to the podcast, you're going to want to join. You are going to want to be there for the boot camp, for sure. I've created the boot camp as if it's a $5,000 event. That's the thought I've had is, what would this look like if everyone attending was paying me $5,000? The value is going to be so high. You're going to feel bad that I didn't charge you for it. Actually, I never encourage anyone to feel bad. I'm just kidding. Not kidding, because you are going to get the value, but I don't want you to feel bad about it. But you're going to walk away from the boot camp and feel like you just won the lottery and that you could have paid $5,000 for it and you wouldn't regret the money spent. You're not going to want to miss this. And then, like I said, for those wanting to jump in and get help, the pivot starts October 7th. We're closing the door October 5th. It's a screaming deal. I call it the 8-week parenting boot camp, but you actually get an extra week at the beginning because this round we're currently in, we changed things up a little bit. And so now we have implementation week to make sure everyone is completely ready. So when we open up the actual content, the meat of Pivot, you are ready to go. It's like the stretch before the run. And then we do the 8 weeks of boot camp intense. It's awesome. It's not for the faint of heart. It's for those who are ready for a change. And then we do a cool down, I like to call it the cool down at the end, where you get one extra bonus week to wrap everything up. So it's really 10 weeks, but I call it the 8 week because we do the massive content in the 8 weeks. Then we have a little buffer on each side. You get this custom app that is fantastic. It's our portal, but it's not just where we house the videos. A lot of times when people say, hey, you get the portal, it's just a place to watch videos, but it's not that with us. There's discussion boards like Facebook groups. There's actual tools. So I teach you, like we were just talking about in one of the comments the moms made, the steer, which is a part of what I call daily peace. I teach you how to do that, and then you do it in the app and it walks you through. It's so brilliant. I teach you how to make a connection plan, and then in the app we have a tool that helps you do it. I teach you how to respond in a connective way with connection, not correction, how to choose closeness, and you have the most amazing choose your own adventure interactive tool right inside of the CMP app that helps you take a situation. You literally could use it in real time. The last pivot we did at our final call, we were sharing wins and one of the moms got on. And if you're listening, you know who you are. It was such a cool share. She said she was having the situation happen with her kids and her brain kind of froze. She wasn't sure what to do. So she pulled out her phone, because you can use it on your phone or your computer, the CMP app that is, which has this response plan assistant. And she pulled it out and she used it. She put the situation, because it has these little selections between different things that are going on. She kept clicking depending on what the kids did or what she did. And she said, it walked me through the entire thing. And the outcome was crazy different in the most beautiful, connective way. And everything resolved. And she was just so happy. She was so pleased with what happened. She was able to stay calm. Her kids felt heard. She resolved the situation. So that was really cool. So you can use it in the moment. Some people are hesitant because it does look like you're playing on your phone, kind of. But it's also brilliant to use ahead of time. If you know when the kids come home from school, it gets kind of crazy. You can walk through different scenarios and map it out in your brain and prepare yourself ahead of time. And then reviewing bad situations, well, quote unquote bad, right? They're all learning experiences. But a situation that didn't go the way you wanted to, you can review it and say, oh, what could I have done? And this is what I did. And so you can learn, you can prepare, you can use it in real time, you can learn. It's so cool. So you get all of that, plus a ton of other stuff. We do 3 to 4 live calls every week that are not required. So don't let that overwhelm you, but they're there to support you. You can ask questions. We have a hotline that you can text into. We've basically made it foolproof. So if you come in and you do the work, you're going to see massive shifts in your parenting. It's what we've found, but you have to come in. You have to dedicate yourself to do the program. And it's a couple hours of work every single week. Then the rest of it, you're doing mostly as you're just parenting your kids. So $200 deposit. You get it back at the end if you do all of the work. And that's just our thank you, like I said, for being part of the study. And we are wrapping up this year-long study with this final pivot in October. You get tons of support and you basically get to go through the program for free. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. So if you're interested, go to cmp.works/pivot or just go check out the website. You should see it all there. We've already had lots of people sign up. So if you're already signed up, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see you in October. And if you're thinking about it and you get signed up, I can't wait to see you there too. I'm so excited for what is going to happen at the end of this year. I mean, we're turning into fall. At least it feels like fall here. And the school year has begun for most of us. So think about it as you have a month to kind of acclimate to the school starting again, and then you are ready in October to dive in and create the most impactful, connective, beautiful school year possible so that you don't have anything that you regret, so that you feel like you have given 100% in your parenting. So here we go. All right, that's the end of my ramblings. Let's get into the content of what we're talking about for you today. I just got a little excited about what's in store for you all on the Connect Method Parenting podcast today. We're going to talk about dealing with regret. And I want to talk about this because so many parents who are coming into my programs are dealing with regret, and it is weighing them down. A lot of people are telling me they have so many regrets in their life. They have so many regrets about their parenting, and I want to teach you how to deal with it. I want to teach you how to come to regret and use it in a productive way. So the question is there an upside to regret? Is regret a useful emotion? You guys know, if you've been listening to the podcast, that I like to think about emotions as either being indulgent or not productive, or useful and productive. That's the way I like to think about them, because all emotions are here to serve us. So they all can land in either category. We're going to talk about that. All emotions, welcome here. Yes, yes, yes. Bring them in. They're all here for a purpose. They're all teaching us something. So many of our useful emotions don't feel awesome. They don't feel great, but they help us get what we want in our lives. And so I've often wondered about different emotions. Is this one useful? Or how can I use this emotion in a productive way? How do I use this emotion in an unproductive way? So I looked at regret and I thought, is this a productive emotion? Is it useful? Or is it not productive? Is it indulgent? And I came up with the answer of both yes and no. Helpful, right? Well, we'll unpack it and I'll explain what I mean. So regret, when we are using regret to wish that things would have gone differently, that we should have shown up differently, then I think it's not productive. We're dwelling on what could have, would have, should have happened. We're spinning and thinking about things that cannot be changed, that's happening in the past. Usually we're making it personal. But if we're looking through, and maybe it starts out as regret, we're like, ooh, there's that regret about that thing that I wish would have been different. But we're using that emotion to change our life now, then yes, I think it is useful. But the problem is that most of us spend way too much time using regret to blame ourselves, to blame others, to wish something had happened in the past that cannot be changed. I like thinking about the difference between past focus and future focus. And when you are focused on your past, when you are constantly thinking about your past and you're arguing with it, that is regret. Wishing you would have done something differently, believing that if you would have been different, or if that other person would have been different, then your life would have been different. I think that is a complete waste of time. Now, do I sometimes land there? Absolutely. Absolutely. I used to lay in bed and regret most of my day. I would replay event after event with my children when I had lost my temper, when I had lectured my kids, when I had gotten upset and blamed them. And I would lay in bed and cry and beat myself up and become overwhelmed with regret. And you know what? It wasn't productive. It never got me into the place where I could actually change anything. I was resisting my life and I was forever stuck spinning each night. I was just piling on another layer of feeling awful about myself, about my parenting, about my worth. I was losing confidence, and it made this pile of regret so high that for a period of time, it was impossible for me to get rid of. I was drowning in regret. I think regret is only useful for a temporary flash of a moment where you see and you say to yourself, hey, yeah, I could have done that in a different way and it would have had a different outcome. That's really interesting. We get curious and we accept that that was what happened in that moment. So what we're really doing is we're looking at part of our mind, part of ourselves. I like to think of it as a fraction of our nervous system has created this story and it wants to stay spinning in regret. And I can hold that regret in my hand. That's how I visualize it. I hold that part of me in my hand. And then I have another part of me, the wiser, kinder, more compassionate part of me that's curious and accepting about that regret. And I'm able to look at it and say, oh, I see why you want to spin in regret. I see why you want to stay in this place of indulging in this non-productive cycle. And it's okay. And because I have curiosity and acceptance driving this part of me, I'm also able to see the truth of where I could improve and how I could do better next time in the future focused, without staying stuck in the past. So it's productive when I can take something and I can become better because of it. And I love this quote by Nelson Mandela. I'm going to misquote it because I didn't have it prepared to share with you all today. But he says something to the effect of, I never fail, I only learn and grow. Something like that. That's the essence of it. And that's what I'm talking about is, can we look at the regret and say, yeah, part of me feels terrible and shameful and regretful about that. And part of me sees the fact that I was doing my best, even though it might be far below my potential. I was doing my best. I want to learn and grow from that and allow that experience to catapult me into a new place. That is not what I was doing in the bed. I was beating myself up and drowning in my wallowing, which was the best I could do back then too. So I have no regrets about that. Just noticing it and saying, wow, that wasn't productive. It wasn't moving me forward. So there's this quote that I found that says, a man is not old until regret takes the place of dreams. What? Oh my gosh, it's so true and so sad. And I don't ever want to do that. I mean, I've done that. I have done that 100%. And I don't want to have my regrets take the place of my dreams. And if you are in a place where it feels like you are where I was, laying in bed crying and beating yourself up and regretting all of the things that you didn't do that you wish had gone differently, that's okay. That is fine. The fact that we're having this conversation is inviting you to see and have yourself where you are and have so much compassion for yourself so that you can use the information from the events that aren't going the way you want to make your life better in the future. So if you look back and you regret something and you can get curious and you can accept that you were doing your best and you're looking at what you're feeling regret about and you're allowing it to make your future better, if you're doing that, then you're going to be able to use the regret to help you because that's not the only emotion you're feeling. Got it? You're seeing the regret, you're feeling acceptance and curious and compassionate about it. If you're going to look back and regret something that happened with your parenting or anything in your life and pine over it and wish it were different, you are not going to be serving yourself. Your brain might tell you, hey, we got to beat ourselves up over this. I surely believed that 400% sure. I really did believe that I needed to be mean to myself to move forward, and it never, ever worked. And it was scary to let go of that, but it's one of the best things I did for myself. One of the most powerful thoughts I use in my life, and I use this all of the time, is that what happened, happened, and it was okay. Now, some people might hear me say what was meant to happen did and think I'm believing that things are predestined. I don't actually believe that. What I believe is once something's happened, then I'm going to benefit far greater from the experience. Even if that thing that happened is not what I was hoping would happen, I'm going to benefit far greater from that experience if I can accept it. Like I was doing my best. They were doing their best. This thing happened because life just doesn't always work out the way we want it to. Can I accept it? Can I allow my nervous system to not get triggered by it? Can I keep my prefrontal cortex on so I can evaluate and learn from it? That is so productive. It's not settling. It's realizing I was doing my best in the moment, or my child was doing the best in the moment. And if they or I could have been more loving, could have been more kind or patient, or said something in a better way, we would have. But for whatever reason, maybe I was just in a bad mood. I was irritated, sick, worn down, stressed about my mother coming in town. My child was stressed about homework, was reeling about a comment a friend made, was hungry because I didn't get to eat lunch or something. Whatever the case may be, there was something in the nervous system of the people involved in that event that kept them from tapping into the most kind, loving versions of themselves. And discovering what that was all about, what was going on that prevented us, or just maybe sometimes just me. I just didn't show up very well. Yesterday, I was I don't know why I was this way. I have no answer, and it doesn't matter. I was just on the verge of tears all day. I don't know. I was just a little bit emotionally heightened. And I kept just noticing. My husband said something. I got stuck with a thing I was trying to do on the computer and I couldn't figure it out. And he came over and started helping me and gave me a big hug. And as soon as he gave me the big hug, I just broke down into tears. There was safety in him being there for me. And I have no reason why I was so limited yesterday. I don't know why I was so activated and on the brink of tears, and it doesn't even matter. We're all going to do that. We're ebbing and flowing. We're upping and downing. I don't know that's not the proper word, but you get what I'm saying. There's cycles, there's seasons, there's things that are going to happen that are going to prevent us from showing up, or are going to prevent our kids from showing up as the best possible version of themselves. Just because we know how to do something better doesn't mean we're capable in that moment to do better. But every single time I've worked with a parent, or I've asked myself this, if you could go back in time, and a time that obviously didn't go so well, if you could go back in time, let's say they yelled, and do that scene over again, would you still act that way? Or if with this perspective and this clarity and with your nervous system calm, would you have done something different? Would you have been more loving? Would you have chosen to love and be patient and compassionate in that moment if that was possible for you? Because hindsight's 2020. We can see that, oh yeah, if I had been more kind, more patient, more compassionate, things would have turned out differently. And I would prefer that. And never have I had that conversation with myself or one of the parents I'm working with where they're like, nah, I would have just been as grouchy and rude and mean and activated as I was then. Because I can see that even if they are clear that their child, it was something that the child was doing that was really off track, that was really maybe inappropriate. And they've even felt really good about how they showed up, but then snapped. They could see how if they had done better, or maybe they didn't snap. Let's do that scenario. They really showed up pretty neutral, but they can reflect and say, hey, if I had even been more compassionate, if I had been able to be more loving and more patient and more accepting, still setting a firm limit potentially if that was needed, but more kind in the way I was showing up, things would have gone better. I can see that. Then they would choose that. But when we don't, when we beat ourselves up, or when we think, well, we talked about it the night before, they know that they're supposed to get up by 7:00, or they know they're supposed to put their shoes in the bin or whatever, but they didn't do it. And then we act a way we don't like, and then we regret the way we acted. That's just nothing productive comes out of that. When I can look back and see that the choices I made or the thoughts I was having, and I can believe that was just the best I could be doing in that moment, or that was the best my child could have been doing in that moment, it allows me to feel free, and I don't feel regret. And I don't need to feel regret. Let's be clear. We don't need to feel regret in order to make a better choice now. That train of thought got me thinking, would I ever use regret? And here's how I want to recommend that you use this emotion. So productive, non-productive. So I go through that whole thought process. And then I thought, okay, so even though I can make it productive, would I want to incorporate this into my life regularly? And here's how I want to recommend that you use regret if you choose to use it in your life. I want you to imagine yourself in 10 years from now. So if you're whatever age you are, I'm 47. I can't believe I'm 47. I just realized I was 47. I wanted to stop doing the math and I kept thinking I was 46, but my child did the math yesterday and reminded me I was 47. So I'm 47. So I'd be 57, which sounds crazy. So if I'm 57 and I'm looking back on my life and I'm using regret in a productive way, I would use it like this. I would want to think about things that I would regret if I didn't do them right now. So I think I would regret spending more time working than with my kids. I think I would regret not taking care of my body, not exercising, not going on my daily walks, not eating in a way that I feel is healthy for me. I think I would regret not putting a lot of time into the relationship I have with my husband, or not investing our money in a way that we feel good about. I think I would regret not working on getting Connect Method Parenting out into the world so that it can touch more parents' lives. And I think I would regret not spending time with my most precious dear friends, not keeping those relationships strong. So I think that could be a useful exercise. Go into the future and prevent regret. Think about what you can do right now so that you don't regret it later. Now, I'm trying to learn how not to regret anything anymore because I'm seeing it clearer and clearer that it's not a very useful emotion in so many ways. Now, we've talked about how we can use it in a productive way, but for me, the slippery slope is so just present that I can slip down, beating myself up so easily that I'm trying to even use it less and less. But if we're going to use it, then use it in a way that serves you, that doesn't bring you down. The other day, I was driving our car to our house and I ran over some rocks that were in the road. I don't know how I got to be the lucky one, but they were big old rocks. And I instantly noticed that my tire lost all of its air. I had to pull over, get a tow truck. We took it to the tire place. I thought I had messed up the tire, but it actually dented the wheel, the rim. So they had to replace the rim. And I was just frustrated, regretting that I had made this decision. If I had been paying more attention, maybe I could have avoided the rocks. And I was going in this little spin when my husband said, time out, time out. You're doing it again, Andy. Because I was just yada, 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 and all of these things. And I could see what I was doing. My brain, talk about slippery slope. This is an example I wanted to show you. Like, my brain likes to go down the slippery slope of regret, beat the crap out of yourself mode. She's really good at it. I've had 30 plus years working on making that groove in my brain, that neural pathway, super slick and strong, and only about 17 years being aware that it was even there and doing something to counter it. So in this situation, I noticed this was not serving me. I went and swung in the hammock for at least 10 minutes in the discomfort of seeing and feeling the emotion of regret, accepting it, getting curious about it, letting it work its way through so that I could metabolize it and use it to move me into a better place. So even though we're doing this work all of the time, and I know you all who are listening to this, you're wanting to show up as a better parent, be aware of those weaknesses, of those neural pathways. And for me, regret, that's why I'm talking about it today, is a big one. My brain really thinks that drowning in a sea of regret is a good thing. And I'm having to notice all of the time when my brain wants to do it again. And I have to present myself to the part of me that wants to go into the regret and say, I got you, I see you. And I go into accepting, affirming, allowing, get curious, get compassionate, and sit with it, which is uncomfortable, so that I can move through it. So, sorry, that was a little digression, a little story to illustrate this fact. So if you are finding yourself a little bit addicted to regret, like my brain is, be patient with yourself, notice it, and when at all possible, try to use it for your benefit. And when it comes up and starts to sabotage you, like mine did with the tire situation, just meet it where it is. It's not a problem. It's there. Makes complete sense. It's there. And when we meet it, when we don't fight it, then we can use it in a productive way. Every time I go through that cycle and I slip it back into the sea of regret, the slippery slide of regret, and I don't get taken over by it completely, I become more capable of noticing it, of handling it. And even if I do get taken over by it completely, because let's be honest, for a minute I was there. But whenever I interrupt it and notice it, that creates more capacity for you. Now, if you are in a lot of regret right now, if you're looking at your life and you're punishing yourself with regret because you wish you could have lived your life differently, you wish you could have shown up differently for your kids last night, you wish you were more patient, I want you to ask yourself this question. Is there an upside to doing that? Have you found a purpose to doing that? Is it serving you in any way? And if it isn't, then let's question it. Let's question it. I have to do this. This was the work I did with the situation I just explained. When I wrecked the wheel, my brain started going through it and I sat in the hammock and I'm like, this is fine. This is fine. This is not a problem. I got it. There's no upside to believing this. It doesn't change the car. It doesn't help me show up the rest. I mean, if I get stuck in that, the rest of the day, I am just spinning. So it doesn't make me show up as a better mom or a better human. So how could you think about your past in a way where you don't blame yourself, whether it's 10 minutes in the past or 10 years in the past, but that you instead use that past as a way to create a better future for yourself, and then fast forward into your future. And if you want to use regret to prevent you from doing things that you might regret in the future. Do not let your regrets take the place of your dreams. Regret doesn't have to be present for you to desire change, for you to want to do better. I used to think this. I have to feel really bad for me to do anything different in the future. No, not true. Total lie. You don't have to beat yourself up about your past in order to create a better future as a parent. I struggled so hard in the first 8 to 10 years of my parenting. It was a big old struggle. And I thought regretting, beating myself up, shaming, all those things were going to change me. And it didn't. It wasn't until I finally let go of all of those things that things started shifting. So you do not have to beat yourself up about your past in order to create a better future. In fact, the more we beat up ourselves over the past, the less we are able to create in the future. That's different. I could do a whole episode on that about why that's the case, but believe me, it's true. You can look back and you don't have to blame anyone. You don't have to blame anyone. You can use it as a way to show up better for yourself right now. I think that's the only way that I might use regret, that I would intentionally keep regret in my life. Because here's the deal. Not showing up for myself or my kids, not taking the risks or being willing to be afraid or be willing to make mistakes or to fail is, I know for sure I'll regret if I don't take those chances, if I don't show up as a parent I want to be for my kids, if I don't share connect method parenting, if I don't help strengthen my relationship with my husband. So one of the things that allowed me to finally kick regret to the curb, so to speak, and when I say that, I'm not saying I never ever feel regret. I just shared with you that last month I felt some regret and I had to be aware of it so it didn't spin me into despair. But one of the things that it gave me permission to say, it's okay to stop regretting. It's okay to be kind to yourself when you make a mistake, which for whatever reason was very hard for my brain to let go of. It felt scary. It felt as if, it was so habitual. It felt as if I let it go, that I would be letting myself off the hook. And nothing could be further from the truth. And when I realized that I didn't want my kids dwelling on all their mistakes and beating themselves up and not believing in themselves and not being able to create the life they wanted. And if I wanted them to really embody this empowered belief about themselves and really know that regret is not typically used in a way that's productive and that I don't want them to use regret against themselves, then I had to be the example of that for my children. I couldn't tell them to believe that without being that. I had to be the example. They learn from who we're being, not from what we're saying. That motivated me because I would do anything for my kids. And if it meant that I needed to stop using regret against me and only use regret, if I want to use it at all, to drop into more curiosity and compassion for myself and use it to help me see something that I could do better in the future, because that's what I wanted for my kids. And I wanted to learn that skill. That was motivation. That was the kick in the pants I needed to say, wake up and stop doing this to yourself unless you want your kids to learn this from you. I don't want my kids to beat themselves up. I don't want them to feel terrible about their choices. Do I want them to honestly inspect themselves? Do I want them to self-confront? Do I want them to feel confident? Do I want them to learn from their choices and grow from their choices? Absolutely. This is not me saying I want my kids to not have regret and then they're going to be arrogant and cocky and full of themselves. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying that regret keeps us stuck. Regret keeps us stuck. And I don't want my kids to feel stuck. I don't want them to see their flaws and let those flaws and weaknesses keep them in a lower place of capacity. I want them to learn and grow, like Nelson Mandela said. I want them to feel as though there is no way they can fail as long as they learn and grow from every misstep. And I need to be an example of that. You need to be an example of that for your kids. So, because they will learn how to use regret based on how you use regret. So for me personally, my goal is to only use that emotion of regret for me. I'm going to bet on myself for myself in the future and learn how to look back on my life with a, hey, got you. Good try. Nice stuff. You were doing your best. So glad you messed up. So glad we learned all these things. And not indulge in regret, but instead become motivated by what is possible, what I can learn from that. And then what I hope will happen is that my kids will learn how to do that too. Not because I taught them, not because I told them, but because I showed them. And I hope that you'll do the same for yourself and your kids too. So deal with your regret in a way that serves you. And if it's not serving you, let it go. I'm going to talk to you about the opposite of regret in, I think, the next episode, or if not the episode after that. It's going to be good. So tune back in for that. And until then, y'all, have a beautiful rest of your day. We'll see you later. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to want to check out the 8-week parenting pivot, which is the first phase of my program, the League of Extraordinarily Connected Parents. We're opening up a new round in October. So if you're listening to this live, it's going to be October 7th. If you're listening to this and that date has passed, go check out the website, connectmethodparenting.com, and we'll list the next time we're opening. But if you're listening to this live, go check it out because you can already apply and get accepted into the next round so that you can lock yourself in place to have a huge shift with your kids, to get them to want to listen to you, which is very different than using punishments, rewards, timeouts, ultimatums to get them to listen to you. We want it to be more cooperative. We want better listening. We want a great relationship, and we want to have a ton of fun when we're parenting. So if that's what you want, if what I talked about in this episode resonated, jump over to cmp.works/pivot. I'll put the link in the show notes as well, and find out more about the pivot, apply to join, and we'll let you know if you get in. All right. Until next time, go connect with your kids, have a blast, and pop back in for another episode soon about how to use connection, not correction, to get your kids to want to listen to you. See you later. Bye.